Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we are previewing the Champions Cup round and, well, the Challenge Cup as well, but that'll be a separate video up later. So today's the Champions, or the now's the Champions. Round three of the four, so wouldn't be surprised if a couple of the teams secure qualification if they win their first three. And there is a few teams who that is a likely possibility for them, so we'll talk about that. And a few teams who might struggle and drop down maybe to the challenge, and a few that get fully eliminated. But again, we'll have to wait and see with that. So yeah, let's just hop in to the predictions. So yeah, let's go. Starting off with the first game that's happening tonight, actually, which is Glasgow Warriors. I'm in my Glasgow t-shirt. Glasgow Warriors against Racing, the URC champions. They are both teams are 1 win, 1 loss. But I do think Glasgow will take this, and to be honest with you, I think Glasgow might take this comfortably. It's at Scotstoun, where Glasgow haven't lost a game in over a year. So the last team to beat them there was Northampton in the first round of last year's Champions Cup, which tells you how long ago that was. Obviously they've won the URC between that time, and I have tipped them to make the semi-finals, I think. So yeah, I'm siding with Glasgow for this one. Moving on, we have got the Stormers versus Sale Sharks. Stormers have a poor start, which is a running theme, with South African sides, that they have not performed well in Europe on a whole. A couple of them aren't doing too badly, but on a whole they're not doing well. Stormers are on 2 losses. Sale Sharks are 1 win, 1 loss. So yeah, a little bit of mixed results there for Sale, but Stormers aren't doing so hot. It is in Cape Town in South Africa. Now I know Stormers have got injury problems. My biggest question is, to be honest with you, can Sale Sharks turn up all the way in South Africa, as we know the struggles of the away teams in South Africa? And the English teams, to me, seem very flip-flop. They can seem like they can be one of the best teams one week, and then one of the worst. They can beat anyone by 50 points and they can lose to anyone by 50 points. It's really weird, the English teams at the minute. It's entertaining, but it makes it very hard to predict. I am going to side with the Stormers just with a home advantage and the unknown side of Sale, but it wouldn't surprise me if Sale can squeeze a win here. Next up, we have a game that I think is going to be slightly less, or a bit easier to predict. We have Exeter at home to Bordeaux. Exeter have lost both games. They are struggling this season. I believe they've won 1 game in the Prem or something like that all season, or 1 game in the entirety of the season, because they've not won in Europe either. Bordeaux 2 from 2 in Europe. They have another team who's going to go quite far. So yeah, Sandy Park, so it is home advantage to Exeter. However, I just think Bordeaux are too strong. Sometimes the French teams don't travel that well, but usually the top ones, the Toulouses, the La Rochelles, the Bordeaux, when they're travelling, especially to a slightly weaker opponent, which in Exeter's case unfortunately is. I know Exeter won the Champions Cup a while ago, but they've dropped off a cliff since then. I would side with the French side, Bordeaux. Moving on, and this is actually a massive clash. This is the 2 European champions, the Hollywoodbet Sharks, the South African Sharks versus Toulouse, obviously the last year's Challenge winners versus last year's Champions winners. The Sharks are 1 win, 1 loss. Toulouse are obviously 2 wins. That's, no surprises there. Again, it is in South Africa, in Durban, so it might be interesting to see if Sharks can make do with this home advantage. However, I know they've got a lot of injuries, the Sharks, as well as the Stormers. It is a problem within the South African sides. My opinion on that is they've just played too many games. If you look, a lot, especially the internationals, have been full on for about a year and a half now. If you think you've got the pre-build up to the World Cup, you've got the World Cup, you've got the club season all the way round, then they had the summer games against Ireland, then the Rugby Championship, then the clubs start kicking out. It's been constant for, as I said, especially the internationals for about 18 months now, and that, doesn't matter who you are, that's going to kill your body. So it's not surprising that it's happened, but it is a bit unfortunate for them. However, I do think Toulouse is going to take this. I can't see the Sharks getting a result here. Again, I would love to be wrong. Next up, we have Munster at home to Saracens, and this actually shows to be a really promising game. Munster haven't had the best of seasons so far. They are struggling a little bit in the URC. Saracens are doing alright in the Prem. They're not right at the top, but they're in the mix. Munster 1 win, 1 loss in Europe. Saracens 2 wins, so both teams not doing too badly. This again turns into what Munster turns up. Munster are one of these teams that were this season that they could beat Saracens, but they could also get thumped by Saracens. And again, it makes it very hard to predict because you just don't know who's going to turn up on the day. I'm actually going to side with Saracens, I think. Munster at home could be an interesting pick, but I just think Saracens have been more consistent this season, so yeah. Next up, we've got Stade Francais at home to Northampton. Again, this is one of these ones. Stade Francais are 2 losses, Northampton are 2 wins, so you'd think that if Stade Francais lose and Northampton win, it means a lot for qualification. I think near enough guarantees Northampton is, I think 2 wins is probably going to be enough, but 3 is definite. And yeah, 1 win maximum. If Stade Francais win this, probably won't manage it. They might get challenged, but that's really it. But yeah, I think Northampton will take this. It is in France, which we all know how good the French teams can be in France. They are a bit similar to South Africa, where in France they're really good. Outside of France they can slip a little bit, but I think Northampton should be okay in that one. Next up, we've got Leicester at home to Ulster. Leicester 1 loss, 1 win. Ulster 2 losses. Again, Leicester, I think they're mid-table in the Prem, so kind of a mixed season for them. Ulster, again, I don't think are doing that hot in the URC, or compared to what they're used to. And again, Ulster not doing great in Europe. It is in Leicester, it is in England, so yeah, I do think Leicester will take this, as Ulster just unfortunately don't quite look there. I know they've had a couple of tough games. They played like Bordeaux and Toulouse or something like that, didn't they, Ulster? Something like that. It was mad, but yeah, I do think Leicester will take that. Next up, we've got Cast, and they play the Bulls. Again, another South African team who are struggling, 2 losses in Europe. They're doing alright in the URC, the Bulls. They are 3rd or 4th. Well, a few games in hand now maybe, but they are sitting alright in the URC, but they're struggling in Europe. Cast 1 win, 1 loss. Obviously got that stun win over Munster. Bulls are again another one of these teams I mentioned, with the South Africans being full of injuries and it just plaguing them, and then I said my piece on that, but I do think Cast will take this, as I said, in France. The French teams are usually pretty solid, and the South African teams, when they come up to Europe for the URC or whatever European competition, they can struggle. So I am going to side with Cast there. Next up, we've got Toulon at home to Harlequins. Toulon are sitting alright. They 2 wins from 2. Obviously beat one of the more favoured teams in Glasgow. Quins are 1 win, 1 loss, although I don't think Quins are having a great season in the Prem. So I'm not 100% sure how the top 14 are looking, but I'd imagine Toulon aren't doing too badly at the minute. I do think this will go to Toulon, as I said, in France, especially the bigger French teams, the Toulons, the La Rochelles, the Bordeaux, the Toulouse, stuff like that are usually pretty much unstoppable, unless you're a Leinster or something like that, and I will get to that in a minute. Yeah, Quins are just too on and off for me. Again, I mentioned this was it Sale? I mentioned this. They can smash someone then get smashed. They're so unpredictable, Quins. So I'm going to side with Toulon there. Next up is a massive game. For a few years, this was the final: La Rochelle versus Leinster. Both teams on 2 wins. This is in France, which makes it really exciting. Yeah, if there's one game to watch this weekend, it's that one. Who do you go for? I'm probably going to side with La Rochelle just because it's in France, and as I've just mentioned with Toulon, that some of the bigger French teams seem like pretty invincible in France. But as I said, teams like Leinster can do it. But I am going to side with La Rochelle there. Next up, Bristol are at home to Benetton. Bristol are another one of these teams, just very, very inconsistent in the Prem. Win by 50 points, lose by 50 points. They're splashing a lot of money, Bristol, I'll give them that, but a lot of that isn't coming until next season. Benetton pulled off a massive win. Am I safe to say it was Bath they beat? Absolutely massive win for Benetton in round 2, and I think Bristol and Benetton are more than capable of going to Ashton Gate and winning. I'm going to be honest. I am going to side with Bristol, but as I said, Bristol are so inconsistent, and I probably would put Benetton in that inconsistent thing as well, that although they won't smash, so I know they don't have the swing that some of the English teams at the minute, they can pull off massive results at times and can lose to some. They should have lost to Zebra a couple of weeks ago. Next up, we've got Bath, who are probably one of the more underperformers this season. They've got 2 losses, although they're top of the Prem. So, yeah. They're at home to Clermont. This is the last game, actually, of this week. I've just realised. I'm just reading off the list. Bath are interesting. As I said, they're 2 losses, but to be honest with you, they are one of the more favoured teams. They're my pick to win the Premiership this year. So, yeah. Clermont, again, another one of these teams who can pull it off and can struggle. I am going to side with Bath just because it is at the Rec in Bath, but we'll have to wait and see for that one. So yeah, that is my predictions. To just give you a quick reminder, I've got Glasgow to beat Racing, Stormers to beat Sale, Bordeaux to beat Exeter, Toulouse to beat Sharks, Saracens to beat Munster, Northampton to beat Stade Francais, Leicester to beat Ulster, Castres to beat Bulls, Toulon to beat Quins, La Rochelle to beat Leinster, Bristol to beat Benetton, and then Bath to beat Clermont. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and until next time, I shall see you later.